Welcome back to another episode of Gravity Circuit.
As always, thanks for handling the introductions, Colonel. Wouldn't be the same without you. In the previous episode, we defeated my personal favorite circuit, Bit, and also Crash, the brake circuit, who's also cool, but not as cool as Bit. This time around, we are going to be doing things a little differently. And by that, I mean, we're only going to be doing one stage, and that's the final circuit. Because of that, this episode is probably going to be a bit shorter than the previous ones, maybe even quite a bit shorter. I don't know quite yet. I'm kinda commentating over things as I put it together, which is different from how I usually do things as well. So, this is mixing things up, not just for you, but also for me. We're not going to be cutting to other clips until after we finish this next stage either, so for the time being, things are going to feel pretty normal. And with that explanation out of the way, it's time to explain what I'm doing here. Basically, I'm just cleaning out the shops. I have a ton of money by this point, and we're nearing the end game, so I just want to have just about everything before entering said end game. We can't buy everything just yet because there's still 8 civilian bots left in the game, and we need to defeat the next circuit before we can unlock, or rather have the option to buy Nega's 2 final burst techniques, but I just wanted to be as close to 100% as possible considering, well, again, we're nearing the end game, so I figured now's as good a time as any to start clearing out the shops. And also because of that also means that I'll finally be getting Heavenly Pile Drive. So look forward to that later. You'll finally get to see why it's tied with Current Arc as my preferred offensive burst technique. Regrettably, I must also inform you that despite me having all of these burst techniques at my disposal now, I'm not really gonna use any of them. I'm sorry, even now, having played the game multiple times and checking them all out, I don't really have a use for most of them. However, I am thinking I'm going to re-record the end game, and the reason for that is because not only do I feel I have better strategies for the bosses of the end game now, but also because I do really want to show off some of the burst skills that I didn't use when I initially recorded, like Current Arc. Now then.
Many of the city's computer systems are under constant hacking attacks. There's only one circuit capable of such malice: Hash. Our firewalls can keep him from entering our systems, but who knows for how long. Based on the patterns of his attacks, a nearby warehouse is his likely location. But knowing his tricks, he is probably hiding somewhere else. Possibly even in cyberspace. So, go after him and put an end to his hacking attempts. I just don't want him snooping through my files. Take on this mission? Very well. Prepare for transfer!
Approaching our final target. Meet Hash, also known as the Cipher Circuit. The achievement for this stage is a little different from the others. During Hash's boss fight, you want to deal damage to him when he stops to laugh at you. Before reading the final character highlight, something I want to point out is that, like Bit, Hash is one of the only 2 bosses in this game who has a unique opening to his stage, with a slower version of his theme playing. Again, interesting that they did this. My theory as to why it's only these 2 remains the same, however. And another thing I want to mention is, as soon as you begin the real stage by going through this portal here, you're going to want to go left to find your first civilian bot, same as with Bit stage. Now then, time for the final character highlight. Hash is a calculative one, constantly coming up with elaborate schemes, even if these weren't exactly wholly productive, as they served more as plans for various obstacle courses that he claimed to be for security measures. Not only that, he's quick to anger if he's ever outsmarted by those clearing his courses or otherwise. Hash has his name and title derived from cryptography, specifically hash tables and code ciphers. A personal note I want to add is that until I read this character highlight and learned where he got the name Hash from, I was convinced that it was supposed to be short for hashtag. But turns out I was wrong. Though I think it would have been hilarious if I was right. Now then, Hash's stage. Referring to it as a obstacle course probably could not be more accurate. You've got all sorts of things you need to look out for. Disappearing walls and spikes that can also be activated through switches, like the ones you see now. And also these sort of lasers that work as a security system when you pass by them. When you do, they spawn an enemy that will attack you. The biggest obstacle is, without question, the sort of reappearing, disappearing spikes. They disappear when you get far enough away from them, but then reappear when you get close. And they do deal damage. Quite a bit of damage too, especially on hard mode. Oh, and also, you'll see in a second, yeah, these. You've got these little spheres that will teleport you from one sphere to another. These teleporter spheres can be rather problematic when there's a lot of them on screen at once, because then you run into a conundrum where you don't know which sphere is going to teleport you to, well, which sphere. Like, here gives you a little demonstration of how they're going to work, but they're not going to be so clearly separated later, and it can become a little bit of a guessing game / reactionary game to figure out which one is going to take you where. This is also something you're going to be seeing a lot of in this stage, but I'll talk about that a little bit more later, because first, there's something I want to bring to your attention. When you reach this portal, don't go through it. You'll notice a little gap in the spikes down here. You're going to want to drop down and kind of hookshot swing your way through here, while also dealing with the enemies, and climb your way up to find yourself the final burst upgrade. And with that, we now have every collectible in the game. Well, every collectible upgrade, at least. Now, here we approach my favorite part of the stage, if I'm being honest. You've got 4 locked doors that you need to unlock, however, the keys are through these portals. These are 4 obstacle courses that we need to clear. This first one is going to have a lot of these laser security systems that we need to avoid, as well as a lot of hookshot swinging. I honestly love this. If you're good at hookshot swinging, you can just zoom through it like I do right here, and it's rather fun. Don't forget to go all the way to the right, though, to get that civilian bot. And then here's the key hologram, I guess we'll call it. And after destroying it, you can just go through the portal, and that will be one of the 4 doors unlocked. It reminds me a lot of the gimmick of Swordman stage from Mega Man 8, if you've played that. The one on the top left here is going to be a lot easier for you if you go into the stage with the double jump. You're going to have a lot of these portals that you need to jump through, and this is what I was talking about earlier, where there's a lot on screen and you're not quite sure which one you're going to end up through. It's not randomized by any means, it's just kind of hard to learn your first time through. There's also a really well-placed civilian bot here that you need to time your hookshot carefully to get. But as you can see, there's so many portals, and it's a little hard to tell which way you're going to go. Hugging the walls is a good strategy to keep you safe, and the double jump helps in giving you a bit more time to react to where you're going to end up. The bottom left portal is going to take you to an area where there's going to be a lot of switches that activate reappearing, disappearing walls. This one is probably the most straightforward one to complete, seeing as there's not going to be too many enemies thrown at you. You mainly just want to watch out for the spikes. And you also don't want to do what I'm about to do right here. Don't do that. But the switches are in easy-to-reach spots, and your hookshot is really helpful for this as well. For this civilian bot here, you want to use your hookshot to activate that middle switch, and then you can just get your little civilian friend. But again, why do I keep doing that? Anyway, that's just about all there is to say about this one. Again, super straightforward. I honestly would even say it's the easiest one, which is more than what I can say for the next one. Speaking of, the bottom right portal is... there's a reason I saved it for last. This is honestly probably the worst one. Yep, you're upside down. This one can be tough because, well, having your screen flipped upside down just feels really weird. This does mess with your controls too. Left and right are unaffected, but your up and down buttons are inverted, so up is now down and down is now up. I look relatively unaffected here, but that's because I I've played this game so much, and also I play a lot of Super Mario Galaxy, so I'm used to having my screen flipped upside down. But trust me, it's not as easy as it looks. Before going through the portal, you may notice that there's a fake wall, so you're going to want to destroy that, and take care of these two bozos here. And also, don't try to do it as clumsily as I do here. If I'm going to be honest, the upside down screen did affect me a little bit here. I'm not immune to it. Regardless, after you save that civilian bot, you want to head through the portal. And now finally, we can proceed through the rest of the stage. After going through this portal, you're going to want to go left immediately afterwards, because there's going to be a fake wall that leads you to your next civilian bot. Getting this guy is going to be easier if you have the double jump, because you're going to have to navigate around a lot of spikes as well as invisible platforms. So I like to just walk off of them and then use my second jump to recover. And then after you get him, you could just, I guess, intentionally jump into the spikes and do a little bit of speedrun strats. If I'm being honest though, that was not intentional when I was recording this. After that, you've got some portals you're going to want to jump through. After going through the first one, you're going to want to go left and then right, and that's how you can get through there safely. After that, this next part of the stage is going to have you using these switches to create a path for yourself. You don't have to stick to the upper path like I am here, I just think that's the easiest. You could, if you want, use the switches to stick to the lower path, or do a little bit of up and down. It's up to you, really. Coming up next, we got a few more portals. When going through the first one, you're going to want to hold left, and then when going through the second one, you're going to want to hold right and slide down the wall. After that, you've reached the end of the stage. If you activated the red switch before jumping through the portals like I did, you'll be able to get down here and find a box full of money. Lots of it, too. And finally, as always, I would advise that you fully heal yourself before challenging the boss.
What a bothersome intruder you are, Kai. Don't you realize just how much I worked on those traps?
I don't have time for your games, Hash.
Games? Bah! You single-processor fools don't understand my artistry.
Your actions are harming others. I cannot call that art.
Ah, you underclocked scrap, clouding your sensors with unnecessary details. I believe some calibrations are in order.
More than likely, you're going to find Hash either a complete and utter joke of a boss or really annoying. He will not attack you directly. He's always going to try to stay as far away from you as possible while also spawning copies of himself to attack you from a distance, while also attacking you himself. But almost all of these attacks are going to be projectile-based. His special attack is going to have him fill the screen with spikes, with the exceptions of a few set locations. You want to run over to those locations as quickly as possible to avoid them. Here's me hitting him while he laughs, by the way. The way that works is that occasionally during his fight, he's going to sometimes stop what he's doing to just point and laugh at you. That's when you want to hit him, and if you do, you'll get your achievement, but you gotta be quick. His Phase 2 pattern is almost exactly like his Phase 1 pattern. The only difference now is that he's going to be warping around the room a little bit quicker and leaving a few more copies of himself. In addition, he'll sometimes summon an orb that comes down from the middle of the screen and will shoot projectiles in every direction. On top of that, he'll probably start spawning spikes around the arena more often to try and limit your movements, thus making it easier for him to hit you. He also doesn't seem to be as hesitant to use his special attack like the other bosses, so you might want to hover around the bottom middle platform so that you can be ready for it.
Incomprehensible. My calculations said I was sure to win. Guess the contingency plan will come in handy. Soon. Very soon.
And with that, the final Rebel Circuit has fallen. I know for sure Colonel is going to be very happy to hear that this is all finally over. Although, that talk about a contingency plan is concerning. We'll have to run that by him. Let's see our mission results. Mission 100% complete. Oof, that clear time though. But would you look at that? We have now saved every civilian bot in the game. The medic and nurse will be very happy to hear that. Now let's check in with Colonel. sir?
I will obey. What? Pat, what happened here?
Colonel, he took the circuits, and well, we tried to stop him, but we were no match for him. He transferred out of here, and Nega followed after him.
I see. Where did they head off to?
The Ark! Master Kai, sir.
The Ark? What is that?
Oh, it's the huge structure we found before the virus army first attacked.
Right. I remember now. The rebel circuits have been nothing but a distraction. The Ark is the source of the virus army. They must have been hiding there all along, waiting for an opportunity to strike.
But then, why would Colonel go there?
I don't know what he's planning, but I have a bad feeling about this. I will go after him.
Sir, yes, sir. Whenever you're ready to head out, let me know. While you're gone, we will hold down the fort over here. Those virus army cronies are no match for us. I hope.
You'll do fine. Show them what you got.
Master Kai, thank you. We won't let you down. That must have something to do with the contingency plan. And the circuits really are gone, too. Colonel, why? Even Delta is asking why.
As a member of the Guardian Corps, I should have been able to stop him. Am I not strong enough?
Oh, this is real bad. Someone took the circuits while I wasn't looking. I hope Colonel won't be mad at me. He's the one who took them, you dunce! Oi! So not only do we not get any post-stage dialogue from Colonel, but we also don't get any from Nega either, considering he's also gone. On the bright side, however, at least the medic is talking to us again. Everyone's accounted for, and he can finally relax. Just stay away from the tube, alright? Don't want to catch you red-handed near it again. Buddy, if it were still here, I'd totally touch it again. That's odd. Mr. Nega stormed off in an awful hurry. Before he did, he handed some data chips to me. As far as I can tell, they seem to describe various techniques. He told me to sell them off to you for a price, so if you happen to need his wares, just let me know. From this point forward, the nurse will be the one handling burst techniques for us. If there's one we need, we'll go to her. So, first I'm going to be buying these last 3 upgrades. Grip Enhancer makes it so that you don't slide down walls when holding onto them. The second one I buy is Light Alloy, and this is the one that I've mentioned in the past that slows your descent when falling. And finally, Chain Dasher. I don't think this one is very good, but basically it lets you dash up to an enemy when you hit them with your hook shots. Oh wow, you've emptied our entire catalog. I'm sure we can help a great many bots with these funds. And now for the burst techniques. So, the 2 burst techniques you get for defeating Hash are Clone Array and Hologram Bomb. Clone Array is, without question, the better of the 2. The description isn't accurate, but also is. Basically, it lets you do double damage. Hologram Bomb just has you leave a hologram of yourself behind, and it just detonates after a bit. It's okay, but it's just completely outclassed by Clone Array. Literally double damage, and it lasts for about 5 seconds? That is, like, so good. You do, like, for bosses, 2 units of HP per hit. It's absurd. I highly, highly recommend using this move once you get it. Sadly, that's all I'm gonna be able to get because now I'm out of money. Now then, moving our focus to our new civilian bot, for clearing Hash's stage, Tech here will move into the Guardian Corps HQ. He'll tell you how he's jealous that you got to go to cyberspace, considering that after the first Virus Army conflict, Hash disappeared, and with his disappearance, the Guardian Corps lost all access to cyberspace. That's also why Alf, to the right here, started using books. Tech also talks about how books are okay, but without cyberspace, their historical records are just out of reach. He would also like for us to take him to cyberspace once this second Virus Army conflict is over. Alright, with that all taken care of, we have reached the point of this episode that I was talking about at the very start. So, as we speak to Epsilon here to get his data chip, we see what I mentioned before about how he talks about Yuki and Amadeus. But anyway, we've reached that part of the video. So here's what we're gonna do. There's a few things I want to get out of the way before we go into the end game, and it's just some miscellaneous stuff, mostly data chip stuff, and just a few, again, missed things, like missed dialogue and whatnot. Like, for example, we didn't get to see Colonel's post-stage dialogue as well as what Nega had to say about Hash, because Colonel decided before seeing that dialogue would be a good time for him to go crazy, I guess. So, with that said, once our little conversation with Epsilon is done here, because I don't think I want to cut it off midway through, we're going to be starting with showing the post-stage dialogue from Colonel, as well as what Nega has to say about Hash. So, with seeing that Epsilon's dialogue is about to wrap up here, let's go ahead and get started with that.
Good work out there. The city's computer systems are back online. And even better yet, my personal files are safe. Let me know when you're ready to tackle the next mission.
If only we could, Colonel. If only we could. But sadly, you're not with us right now. Moving on, the next missed dialogue is Nega.
Ah, you've been busy. I heard you confronted the Cipher Circuit. Hash was always a calculative one, constantly scheming something. Unfortunately, his elaborate plans weren't exactly productive. Instead, they were just dangerous obstacle courses for others to tackle. And when someone cleared them, he'd throw a big fuss about it. It was like his main drive was to avoid getting outsmarted. A shame, really. He could have used his intellect better. Oh, I think that's enough reminiscing about the past. Care to take a look at my wares?
What's your history with these guys, Nega? Why is it that you know so much about them? I suppose only time will tell. Well, that'll do it for the missed dialogue. Before moving on to the main event, there is one little thing I want to show you guys first. So do you remember when I said you get a little medal next to the circuit displays each time you defeat a boss without getting hit? Well, just before recording this video, I learned that there is a second medal. The yellow ones you're seeing are the ones you get for beating each circuit without getting hit. The blue ones, however, you get these for clearing the stages without getting hit. This also includes the boss fights, so it's a true no-hit run. I have done dang near 20 playthroughs of this game already, and I'm still learning new things about it. And that's kind of funny because for this playthrough, I really am trying to show off everything that I'm aware of, and yet just new things like this come up. Not that I'm complaining or anything. It's just that, you know, after 100%ing this game, getting all the achievements and everything, I was sure I knew everything there was to know about this game, and yet it hits me with a curveball like this. Looking back at it too, it's kind of funny because, like, it always did look like there was a slot for a second medal there, so I find it funny how I never pieced that together. In case you're wondering, the stages I found most difficult to no-hit were traces, crashes, and hashes. Those three just seem to give me the most trouble. And that's even in spite of me using the burst technique that made getting these no-hit medals a complete cakewalk, even on more problematic stages like Blade Stage or Medleys. That burst technique, by the way, is... If past me will pause the game to show it real quick. There we go. That burst technique is Hardware Barrier. This move, I already knew it was good, but I severely underestimated how good it is. It straight up makes you invincible. So, the way the no-hit medals work, for clearing the stages at least, is you can't take damage, but you can still get hit. Hardware Barrier completely protects you from taking damage. And so if you just keep it up for the entirety of the stage, that counts. That counts as no-hitting it. And that's how I was able to get all of these. The only ones where that was still difficult in spite of that strategy was, again, Trace's stage, Crash's stage, and Hash's stage. The latter two especially. But all three of them were difficult for different reasons. For example, with Trace's stage, her boss fight was what made it problematic, because when she throws that goop all over the floor, even though that doesn't deal damage, making contact with that still counts. Even if you, like, try sliding through it with Dodge Slider, so that's what made it difficult in her stage's case. Like, in her fight, you just literally can't touch anything. You can't really even cheese it much with Hardware Barrier. You really do need to dodge the goop specifically. And this applies when going through her stage as well, so if you decide to go after those no-hit medals, be sure to keep that in mind. Before finally getting to the data chips, Kronos has some dialogue for us that I thought you'd want to see.
Oh dear, what's this ruckus about Colonel disappearing? That sounds very worrisome. Me and him go way back. We both used to be bots working in construction, erecting many buildings throughout the city. However, when the virus army first appeared, he organized the evacuation efforts. As such, it's all thanks to him that I am still operational today. Such heroism is what led to him becoming the leader of the Guardian Corps while you circuits were absent. I hope he will be alright.
Me too, buddy. Me too. Alright, at long last, it's time for the data chips. This will actually be somewhat brief. I'm basically taking this opportunity to give you guys a sort of checklist of sorts. I just want to show you which data chips you should and shouldn't have by this point in the game. So with that said, after defeating your 8th and final Rebel Circuit, you are able to get every data chip in the game for every normal enemy. You should also have the data chips for not only the mini-bosses, but also the 8 main circuits, and also the intro boss, if I remember correctly. If you've been doing things between missions around Guardian Corps HQ, such as talking to the various NPCs, saving all of the civilian bots in the stages and whatnot, you should also have all of the data chips for every NPC in the Guardian Corps HQ, if you've talked to all of them or done whatever trigger is needed to get their data chips. Like, for example, with Kid, you need to do the basketball thing. Or like with Yuki and Amadeus, where you need to pet them for a certain amount of time. And then there's also Fix, I think. I might be remembering the wrong name. But with the other NPC where you just need to sit down and relax with them for a bit. Those three are examples of where you need to... where talking with them isn't enough. As we begin to focus on the bosses for a second here, once again, you should have the data chips for each of the 8 main circuits. These are what you saw me pick up each time I defeated one. You won't have every boss data chip, however. You're going to see that there are some that are missing, but we have one for each of the 8 main circuits as well as the intro boss, but as you can see, we're still missing 4 of them. Don't worry about that. These will be dropped by the remaining 4 bosses that we will be encountering in the endgame. For the character section, To get Nega's data chip, you need to have rescued every civilian bot in the game. So that is mandatory to get all the data chips. Kernels will be dropped after he goes crazy. And as mentioned before, all of the others will be acquired upon talking to each respective NPC for the first time, or fulfilling whatever trigger is needed to get their data chip. The remaining ones will be found just lying around at Guardian Core HQ. There is one data chip we can't get right now at this point in the game, and that is Data's. Data can be found here in the archive room along with Alf. He's going to be the guy to the far left. The reason we can't get his data chip is because the trigger for it is not activated until you've cleared the second to last level. So for the time being, we can't get his data chip, even though we can speak to him whenever we want. The final two missing data chips that you saw at the top of this list earlier cannot be obtained until after you've beaten the game. Upon clearing the game, you will be brought back to Guardian Core HQ, where you will just see the final two data chips just sitting on the ground to your left as soon as you teleport in. I am unable to tell you what the contents of these final two data chips are because of spoilers, so you'll just have to wait and see. But, with all of that said, that is every data chip that we can possibly have before going into the endgame accounted for. The only one left that's missable is Data's data chip. Data is the guy to the left over here. Again, we can't get his until after we've cleared the second to last level. But besides his, all of the other data chips in the game are basically impossible to miss unless you are actively trying to avoid them. And that concludes everything I wanted to say and show. Well, what do you know? I guess this episode didn't end up being that much shorter after all. So in that case, we're gonna call it here. Next time on Gravity Circuit, we're gonna be going to the Ark to chase after both Nega and Colonel to catch up with them, as well as, hopefully, find a way to save Colonel. In the words of Stephen Strange, we're in the endgame now.